Mental health is toxic. It implies there's this ultimate goal to work towards to be fully sane and somehow happy all the time. Mental fitness, rather, implies change and acceptance. It is feeling sadness and joy and uncertainty and insecurity and accepting that it's not all good all the time. Previously, I might have felt embarrassed to say, I'm not coping, I'm feeling lonely, but be open about what you're feeling, because even if it's dark, it shows that you're human and people can relate to that. If you don't have off days, how would you know what to work on and what to appreciate? So here are some tips for mental fitness. Ordinary or narcissistic. Narcissism is ultimately the fear of being ordinary. We are shown ideals all day and we constantly have to perform to be extraordinary. We have to be the perfect parent, the perfect partner, we have to be the highest performing employee. A culture that shows you that you can be anything you want to be, and you deciding to be a few things and not everything is okay. Use your values and your principles to filter what actually matters to you. Don't give solutions. If someone feels bad, it's not always your job to fix it. I fall into this trap a lot. When people come to me with their issues, instead of just listening, I go into solution mode. We need to allow people to vent. Be sensitive to the fact that when someone talks to you about a problem initially, they might not want answers. Most of the time, they would ask you, what would you have done? Or they already know what to do, but they just don't want to face it. Eventually, you can ask them if they need some advice or if they just need an ear to listen. We all want empathy, that we're sitting in the mud, but ultimately we will navigate our way out of it. A quarter-life crisis. A midlife crisis is a popular phenomenon, but a quarter-life crisis comes up not because you're close to death or you haven't achieved everything that you wanted to. It is the idea that I'm supposed to be here, but it's taking me a little bit longer to get there. We are measuring ourselves against this imaginary scale, and most people don't want to hear that they need to slow down, because somehow we're taught that if we're not spending all of our time and using all of our time, we are falling behind. So you can't take a gap year because somehow you'd be falling behind in your career, and you also can't stay in that low-paying job because somehow you should be running the company already. Not everything has to be done yesterday. This is a hard one, but take some time to rest. Just sleep, light a candle, read a book, and get back into nature. Go for a walk or just go sit in a park. And most of all, put away the social media and the technological devices. The silent struggle. There's one problem that you cannot fix for yourself, and that is loneliness. The issue is that it's easier to be lonely by myself than to reach out to others and risk rejection. If the goal is to make yourself feel better when you reach out to other people, you will ultimately not be in control. And there's also this double-edged sword where as your loneliness goes up, you get the confidence to reach out to other people, but then anxiety also goes up as you are busy reaching out to people and interacting with people. And eventually your anxiety might go over your loneliness and then you retreat back. The way to overcome this is to make reaching out for the benefit of the other person. Try to remember that loneliness is also an issue that they can't solve for themselves. Reach out to 3 people and invite them for something, and your mind is going to go wild here. It's going to tell you, you look like such a weirdo. How can you be reaching out to someone after a year of not speaking to them? But just try and listen to your mind and then let it go. And think about how nice it must be for someone who hasn't heard from anyone in a while to get a random message from you just asking to catch up. Stop saying, how are you? This is such a bad habit that we all have. We enter a conversation, we go, hi, how are you? Oh, great. And you? Fine, thank you. But the reason we ask is because we feel like we somehow have to, and we are already expecting the good answer. So why are we doing this? Because most people don't really care. In the most loving way, we're all busy with our own challenges, our own desires, and our own ambitions. Why not just say hi and ask a genuine question, or jump into what you wanted to say immediately? The spotlight on mental health just shows how far we've drifted from real, genuine relationships. So start normalizing genuine conversations and silence in conversations. Emotions are information. Emotions are not good or bad, it's just information telling you something about yourself. A good way to filter this is thinking, if I look back on this in a year, is this actually going to matter? And if it does, what do I have to do to walk away from this feeling proud of the outcome? It is really hard to do this in the moment, but the more you focus on hindsight and you self-evaluate, the more you will be able to figure out in the moment while you're fighting with your partner or while you're really struggling at work and doubting yourself. The more you'll be able to see through those emotions and in the moment make the decision to break the cycle. Look at your emotions with curiosity and not judgment. You are not your thoughts, so allow your thoughts and then choose what actions to take after it. You are not a bad person if you had bad thoughts. Shutting down debate. We are a society that's becoming more dependent on independence. It is becoming harder to connect with people, and the internet is encouraging toxicity because it needs emotional engagement. You can find 1,000 people or more who agrees with what you believe in, and the content that you fed ultimately also echoes what you believe. As social creatures, we just want to belong to something, so we don't question, we just go along with whatever content we're shown. The internet is breeding intolerance, and you can see this by the way the debate is shut down and the popular narrative just needs to be the only narrative. But people will disagree with you. There are so many opinions in the world, and if you're just going to shut down the ones that don't fit your mold, you're ultimately going to fall behind. So listen to people and take what you can from the interaction and walk away with your dignity intact by not bashing people. Move mental mess. Don't let busyness and stress rule your life. Look at what you do to block out the world, to figure out what your triggers are and how you deal with them. Is it gaming? Is it opening the fridge and eating whatever you see in the fridge? Or is it binge watching Netflix for 6 hours? Your brain is just trying to protect you, but remember, the body keeps score. Even if you shrug off the feeling of stress or anxiety, your body will ultimately show it by your skin breaking out, or you craving junk food, or you not wanting to get up in the mornings to go to work. Find someone to talk to that you trust, or if you don't have that, just start writing it down to find patterns. Think about how you are feeling and what happened before that and what worked after that. Instant gratification works by blocking out these feelings, but ultimately the long-term solution is just sitting with it and dealing with it. And the quickest way to calm your mind is through your senses, like listening to music or singing a song, smelling a candle, or human connection through hugs. Sometimes you might think you're absolutely fine until you get a hug and you burst into tears. Different things will work for different people, so just understand what works for you to clear the mental mess. Power is not blame. Blaming gets you nowhere. You shouldn't say, these people did this to me, like my parents didn't love me enough, so somehow I can't have any meaningful relationships. You need to get up and decide to learn your lessons elsewhere, because your parents might not have had the tools to actually teach you those lessons. Show up with accountability rather than accusation, even though whatever happened might not be your fault. Learn where you're screwing up by getting feedback from those that you respect, and when you do, say thank you, because they probably don't want to be giving that feedback. They can just keep quiet. You don't have to agree with it all, and you can even ignore most of it, but if you have an emotional response or you feel like defending yourself, you should probably look into that characteristic or that topic a little bit more. Thanks for watching. Will you be watching this one next, or will I see you in the comment section?